Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and to this latest episode of Depression Help. Firstly, if you've been finding these episodes helpful, then I'm really sorry that it's been a while since I've posted one, and I'm going to get back into the habit of posting them more regularly. I'm not practicing what I preach in terms of having set times to do things. If you remember, I talked about that before with washing my car when I was doing my shopping, just tagging on things to things that you already need to do. So I will try and get into routine of doing an episode on a Monday. Apart from procrastination, there's been a few things going on. Sorry, I should say I hope that you're doing well. Firstly, if at least okay, if not good or better, and if you're not, then hang in there. Yeah, lots been going on. I was getting a bit stressed, a few things in a short period of time, but kind of feeling more on top of things again, so that's good. And recognizing that maybe need to be taking a bit more time off, because I've been doing 6 days a week for 6 months and working quite a lot of hours. So I'm now taking Monday as a kind of fake day off, part day off, because I do have a gig at night. I do music bingo on Monday night, and yeah, but basically just trying to get some more rest and not being down at the unit on a Monday doing work on cars and things like that as well, and then doing a gig at night. So what I thought would be good to talk about today, I should say as well, I lost one of my dogs, which was very difficult. It's the first time it's happened to me, and I'd had him since he was 5 or 6 weeks old, but you probably saw the video on my channel, we tribute video to him. So I thought I was going to talk sometime about pets, so this seemed to be a good time to talk about it, because obviously it's very poignant for me just now. I think that, I'm a massive animal lover. I said before that I'm that soft that I actually feel upset when I drive past. I don't start crying, but I feel upset, or sad even just when I drive past an animal on the road that's been squashed. That's how soft I am, behind all the barriers that I sometimes have up. So I'm a big animal lover, so obviously it's a no-brainer for me to have animals. And we weren't allowed dogs growing up, but so once I was in my own home and somewhere I thought I'd be for a while, getting dogs was something that was definitely going to happen. It did happen, and I got a couple of border collies, which was not the best breed for me to get, but that was largely something I take total responsibility for, and it was kind of the partner I had at the time was what she wanted, and happened to be some that had been bred on the estate where we lived and were ready to go, almost ready to go. So it kind of seemed like perfect timing. And I love my dogs very much, but my initial commitment was to walk them on my day off, and that was it, because I know that I work a lot of hours, and I definitely wouldn't have taken on the responsibility of having 2 dogs on my own. So we ended up splitting up, and I ended up with 2 border collies from the same litter, which is a big no-no because it makes them very difficult to train, working 7 days a week. So you can imagine that was a very steep learning curve, and my life would have definitely been a lot easier if I hadn't kept them, but I was too attached to them to give them up, and I wasn't going to split them up because we've been together forever. So so that was basically the border collies, and I just lost one of them. Their brother and sister, just lost Jackson, and it really was like losing a person. So I'm not going to talk about it too much because I don't really want to go back to being upset again. But the moral of the story is that I think that if you're somebody who suffers from depression, or if you're neurodivergent, certain types of neurodivergent, maybe you find it more difficult to relate to people, and you feel like you've had to really learn things that are obvious to other people. You've had to learn kind of maybe social skills, and learn about how you come across to people, and realize that there can be a difference between what you mean and what comes across and things like that. If you're just a little bit challenged in that way for whatever reason, whether you're autistic or whatever the case may be, I think that dogs are a great option because they're very loving, they're very loyal, they're always happy to see you, very affectionate, and my life definitely wouldn't have been the same if I hadn't had my dogs. If I could have magically made them into a different breed, I would definitely have done that. But despite the fact that it was very difficult and it's always been very challenging having border collies, particularly living in the town when you had to walk them, they want to chase everything. When I lived on an estate in the country or when I've had big gardens, it's been fine. But it wouldn't change having had them. It's not a breed I would get again unless I was going to get one and have it properly trained, which takes a lot of time and effort. So I think that dogs or cat or whatever, an animal can be a very good help to you if you're somebody who struggles. The first and most important thing I think to say is don't rush out and buy an animal. You used to see the dogs are not just for Christmas adverts and not to buy them as presents, although I did buy my dad a dog as a present because basically my mum always said, oh yeah, your dad can get a dog when he retires, and I saw how he was with my dogs, and it just seemed unfair that he didn't have a dog because he liked them so much. And then when he was due to retire, a year before he was due to retire, I was saying to Mum, oh, Dad's retiring next year, he'll be getting a dog now then, eh? And she sort of said, oh, I don't know, we're going to be living in a flat. So his birthday was coming up, and so I basically just bought him a wee lab pup, which is probably a breed I would have chosen. Bought him a wee lab pup, and they called her Kirsty, and I'll maybe even put up a picture for you to see. My mum still doesn't admit to being a dog lover. I try and tell her that I've turned her into a dog lover, but she does say that she's a Kirsty lover. So there you go. So, but yeah, it's a big responsibility having a dog, and I take full responsibility for the fact that I chose to get dogs, 2 border collies, and didn't think about, being the optimist, and didn't think about what would happen if things went south with the relationship and I ended up with 2 dogs on my own that I wouldn't be able to part with, and no matter how hard it was, because I was so attached to them. So I've definitely learned from that lesson. So be very careful if you are going to get a dog about what breed you get, and it's one that suits your lifestyle. A friend who is actually an expert on dogs sort of joked that a greyhound would have been a better bet because they go for a good run and then short run, burn loads of energy, and then they're quite happy to sleep most of the time. So but when I did actually choose what dog I really wanted to get on my own, I got this little sausage, and she's absolutely lovely, very cheeky, and knows exactly what she's supposed to do and does it when she feels like it. But I found there's been lots of times when having dogs has been really helpful. I mean, there's been lots of times when Millie and Jackson were comforting me when I was sitting on the floor crying, when I was even going back, I can remember in my late 20s, when a relationship had gone south, and it was during that relationship that I actually ended up with depression, and that was just maybe not the best combination of people. Nice person, she was a nice person, just maybe not a good combination. So basically, I think that dogs can be amazing. When I was living in the truck, when I was effectively homeless, left my job, which had a house, and I wasn't fit to work, didn't know where I wanted to be, didn't know what I wanted to do, had a plan to go abroad. So they were there with me the whole time, and so if you have a dog, you can always rely on your dog being there with you. And when I had the breakdown, after that, when I was kind of, the whole time I was lying in bed all day, little Nala was lying next to me, and they know when you're sad or when you're upset, and they'll give you affection, and in the early stages of coming back from breakdown, I was literally taking Nala with me everywhere. So I basically was treating her like an emotional sport animal, and she was, because when I was with her, when she was with me, I felt a lot more relaxed. I felt safe. I just felt better when she was close to me, kind of thing. And it's not a good place to be in, where you're relying on, having a dog. Where your well-being is so attached to having a little dog with you. But that was where I was, and she was definitely helpful in my recovery. And you've probably seen that. People like ex-servicemen and women, who also have PTSD for different reasons. A lot of them are given dogs because they find them helpful. And obviously in Forfar, where I am just now, if you're local, you'll always see guide dogs being trained as well. So I'm a massive dog lover, always have been. I felt like it was a great injustice as a child that I wasn't allowed a dog. I think it would have been very beneficial to me growing up to have had a dog. But obviously that's a decision you can make for yourself when you're an adult. And the other side of it is obviously losing one, and that was extremely difficult. I don't want to say too much, but I was crying like a baby for 5 or 6 hours right from when I made the decision that day that that was the day I was going to have to take him to be put to sleep. So again, his Ash is back tomorrow, and I'm going to go and scatter them. I think it's important to realize what a massive decision it is. I'm very conscious of the fact that many Dachshunds live for about 16 years, and I think about breeding Nala and getting a pup, keeping one of the pups or buying another one. I'm very conscious of thinking how long that dog's going to live for, and that I'm tied to being around for them until whatever age that is. So don't run out and buy a dog. If you do struggle with things, with looking after yourself, it's definitely going to be important, I think, to have somebody else in place to only get a dog if you can have somebody that's going to help you if you're struggling, because there's no excuse for not looking after an animal properly, and it's not your fault if you can't do that yourself, but it is your responsibility to make sure that they're looked after. So if that means that you need to enlist the help of other people, then make sure that's in place first. But that said, I definitely think that having dogs has been very helpful to me as somebody who's had several battles with depression, because whether you feel like it or not, you have to get out of bed in the morning to feed them and let them out, otherwise they'll pee on the floor or worse. So and they'll get up at the same time every day, particularly towards the end of his life. Jackson was losing control of his bladder, and he was needing more often, so he was waking up earlier and waking me up earlier, which was fine. So the dogs can be good for getting you out of bed in the morning. That said, Nala would quite happily sleep as long as you want. So I suppose it depends on the dog, but they can be good for a good companion and helpful in that way. Another way that I just thought of, another thing I just thought of that's just about to escape my brain, is it brings out. So psychologists have said, if you Google it online, you'll find studies about this. Psychologists say that having a dog brings out your nurturing instincts and nurturing behaviour, and that's a good thing for you, because part of the problem with depression is that you can get caught up in being too inward looking, and and also you can get caught up in feeling sorry for yourself, which is a topic for another video. So, and don't be offended by me saying that, because I'm saying that to myself as well, as somebody who suffers from depression. We're all capable of getting caught up in feeling sorry for ourselves. So I'll talk about that in another episode. But basically, it's something that takes you out of your own head. It can be a healthy responsibility to have, to be responsible for somebody other than yourself, and to make sure you're thinking about that being and looking after it, and catering to its needs. So it can be a really helpful thing, or it has been a really helpful thing for me as somebody who's had lots of battles with depression. So it's something to think about. Again, don't rush out and get an animal if you don't have people in place who can help you, because if you are struggling, then it could make your situation worse, because you might be taking on a responsibility that you can't cope with, which feeling like you're failing at observing another responsibility is just going to make you feel worse. So something else you could think about is sharing an animal, sharing a dog, maybe with your family, so they could take them when, if there's a time where you're struggling or whatever. Your own situation, but I do think that there's a lot of merit in having a loving animal around. And you'll hear people say things like, we don't deserve dogs, and dogs are nicer than most people, and I completely agree with both of those statements. And they make you laugh as well, Nal is a stubborn little sausage dog. They do what they want when they want, and they've just got loads of personality, and they never lose their puppy mentality. That was one of the things I liked about them. Some other breeds of dogs become less playful, like the collies, and don't really play with toys and stuff, and just become more grown up. Whereas Nala hasn't lost her, real sense of fun. So I kind of, I guess I relate to a dog that hasn't lost its sense of fun and isn't as grown up as one that is. So you can read into that what you will. But yeah, something to think about. And I mean, for me, when I was in my darkest hour, they were the reason that I stayed around, because I could reason. It wasn't accurate, but I could reason at the time, in that state of mind, that I've helped lots of people through death, grieving, conducted lots of funerals, and people do get over it. Maybe not over it, but people get through it, and they keep going. So I could reason that would be the same for people that I knew. But the dogs, even when I go away on holiday, Millie will sit at the front door for 10 days or something, wait for me to come back and whining, and the welcome that I get when I come back from holiday is just insane. That's another good thing about dogs. And because we've lost Jackson, Millie's being a bit more sort of whiny when I'm out and things like that. So they are really, really, they're just great, they really are. So and I think that some people are just actual dog lovers, and they just are, and other people are kind of converts, like my mum. I think that some people wouldn't understand as well. Some people, when somebody loses a pet, or especially a dog or maybe a cat, they don't understand. They can't comprehend that it's basically the same as losing a member of your family. It really is. It feels exactly the same. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people understand or don't understand, or if they're. if they're not into dogs or animals or whatever, that's okay, that's their prerogative, but it doesn't mean that you can't be. So if you think that that's something that would be really good for you, then again, don't rush out and buy an animal. I'm a big animal lover, and I hate to see animals being mistreated and not looked after. So very, very important to make sure that, you know, if you can't take on the responsibility on your own, that you definitely have people who will help you with that responsibility, because you won't really know until you have one, a pet, a dog, a cat, or whatever. You won't really know until you have one whether it's going to really help you with your depression, or whether it's going to be great sometimes but you're going to struggle other times and you're going to need help or whatever. So it's a big responsibility. I had no idea what I was signing up for, but we've made it through. It's been tough. I wouldn't undo getting them, but if I could have made the same dogs a different breeds so they were a lot easier, then I would have definitely done that. So be very careful if you are going to get a dog about what breed you go for. Really do your homework. Speak to people, professionals who definitely know, not just maybe other people who have dogs. I think a lot of people buy collies because they're cheap, and a collie is not the right dog probably for most people, in my opinion, and that would include me. I mean, you know, we've made it through and we've adapted to each other, and but yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it was tough. They started to calm down a little bit when they were maybe 5 or 6. So yeah, lovely dogs. I absolutely love collies. It's just wouldn't be the best dog for me to have unless it was just one and I was going to take it everywhere and it was really well trained. There's a guy that comes to one of my gigs with a lovely collie, and it's super well trained. It was trained by a shepherd, lovely dog, and you know, it can walk around without a lead on the pavement and things like that. So I've seen some really well trained collies. If you are going to get a collie, if you're determined, then unless you're really experienced at training dogs, I would highly recommend, you know, getting one that's already professionally trained. You know, maybe one that didn't quite make the grade as a sheepdog but is really well trained, because that'd be a good call. It'll save you a lot of money and stress, and you know, it'll be better for them, most importantly. So I hope that this is helpful to somebody, and I hope you're doing okay. You know, hopefully you're better than okay. If you're not, hang in there. I've been there many times, and it's always worth sticking around to find out what's around the corner. Remember what I talked about being on an upward trajectory. You know, you can be moving upwards, but there's still things that will knock you back down a little bit. I've experienced that myself recently. Disappointment, feeling let down, whatever. Yeah, hurt, things like that, but that's life, you know, and we have to remember that whether we mean to be or not, sometimes we're the cause of that for other people as well. So take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next episode.